2 hours.
Well, don't back down. Whatever.
Do you have a pregame? Do you have a pregame that you go through, kind of to psych yourself up?
It's this right here.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Typically, on a Wednesday, I try to schedule everything right after the show because I'm so amped. But
have you ever went to court yet, Mike, and somebody said, man, I heard you on that morning show over there.
Not yet, but we got a call yesterday. Somebody wanted our services because of the show. And
well,
starting to get results. Yeah, they wanted to know if...
did they get a discount?
Yeah, of course they did.
Of course.
Get your 20% white Christmas discount.
Now, Jim, I think, is on the phone. Jim has a question for Mike. Jim, are you there?
I'm here.
What city are you in, if I may ask?
I'm in Mockle Mills.
All right, what's up?
Good.
All right, Mike, what I got going on is about this time last year I bought a truck, and it was scrap. I went through the truck, and I found a Rolex.
Oh, good.
Oh.
What?
That's yours.
And it was a platinum Rolex, and I had found it, and I spent all day, I looked up online, it was worth about $5,000 or so. And I run around to Simon's Jewelers down in St. Louis. I ran to all these other pawn shops, timekeepers, all this. And about half the people told me it was fake, half the people told me it was real.
Right.
So a local jewelry store in the Westplex, I don't want to mention their name, but they ended up, I took it up there, they looked at it, and they said, well, let us talk to our boss about it, and we'll get back to you. Well, then they called back and said, hey, we want to look at that watch again. So I go back up there, I show it to them again.
They kept it.
No. Then Tuesday comes along, and they call me back, and they say, okay, well, if you bring that watch up to us, we'll give you $2,550. I said, okay. I was working. I called a buddy of mine, older guy, and I said, hey, would you go to my house to get that watch off my table and take it up there, and they're going to give you some money? He goes up there, they count him out $100 bills, had him sign a receipt. 10 minutes later, after he left, they call back and say, hey, this watch is fake. We want our money back.
Oh, wow.
And they kept throwing the word out there, counterfeit, and this and that. I'm not no Rolex dealer. I don't know if it was fake or not,
Where's the money now?
It's gone.
No, I mean, it's not back in their hands, I guess.
No, actually, I called the lawyer, and he told me to offer them back half their money, and I wanted my watch back. And they said, oh, no, we can't do that.
Right. I mean, if the story's true and they saw it once and then called and had it back and then gave the money, and they're the ones who are in the learned profession of jewelry assessment, I think they'd have a pretty weak case saying you need to bring the money back unless they could prove that you, contrary to what you said, knew that it is fake and thought you were pawning it off, pardon the pun, as something other than what it was. But if you were this person who had no clue what it was, you're probably in a good position. You're a bona fide seller.
Isn't a pawn shop, it's their job to check that stuff before they buy it.
They're in a weakened position.
Not your job.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Right?
Exactly.
If they saw it twice, especially.
Last week, actually, I had a sheriff's department come out to my buddy's house who actually took and got the money, He actually passed away about 6 months ago, but they were trying to serve him with papers on this deal. And so with him being dead even, now they're saying I can go up to the courthouse and pick up this paperwork, but I'm just trying to avoid them and not let them serve me,
Right. If you end up in court and the story is exactly as you say it, I think you're going to be in a decent position. That doesn't mean you won't have to pay an attorney $5,000 to find out you're a winner.
Yeah, really.
But if you have any holes in your story
no
at all,
holes at all.
Okay, then you should be
like I said,
good.
he did the major transaction part of it. Now that he died on me, I mean, I don't really see there's anywhere they can go with it for one. But
especially, if he did it, I mean, it could be conspiratorial, I guess, that you sent him up there in order to evade, the eye contact and that kind of thing. But, I'm just saying, the other side has brain too.
You know how to.
Yeah, but he was like you said, these are the experts. They looked at it. They go, "This looks real to me. We'll give you $2,500."
That's the silliest thing I've ever heard. That now they want to come back. Well, do your damn job, pawn shop.
Exactly.
You rip people off every day.
What I
mean, these damn pawn shops, they'll take something that really is valuable and offer you $3 for it. I don't please.
Charge you 10 to get it back.
I was at a pawn shop, and there was a white Les Paul. It said Les Paul on it. It said "Made in America" on the back of the neck.
Right.
It was made in China.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they were selling this thing for $2,000. I go, guys, this thing is not real.
Not a Gibson.
And they go, oh, yeah, it is. I go, no, this is not real. Mm-hmm. And so
I used to use pawn shops a lot back in the late 90s and early when I was going through school. I had a CD collection of like 1,000. It was always good for like $500.
Exactly.
I would put it in, take it out, put it in. It saved me many times. I guess you couldn't give a CD selection away now.
No.
But I don't have much sympathy for them, the pawn shops, They're getting great deals all the time. Jim, thank you for the phone call. Sorry you went through that. Zachary in Lake St. Louis is next. Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Not too much. Just giving a call. Long story short, my dumbass has had 3 DWI.
Uh-oh.
Already done my time, served my due diligence. I've done everything. Became a free man April 11th, walked out on my probation. I have been trying for the past 2 years to petition for my license.
Oh, okay.
I have nothing on my record since the DWI.
No driving while suspended, no driving while revoked, no bar fights, no domestic disputes, no alleged truck fraud, nothing like that.
Nothing at all.
Just to name a few. Just to go through a couple of
Is there any more?
Everything down perfect with a handshake out of the probation office. So, I mean, I've done everything to the T.
Did you do DWI court
Yep.
all the way through successfully?
Yes, I did.
Dirty drive.
That matters. It has to be successfully all the way through?
Yes.
It's a pass-fail
Dang
thing.
it!
Or you have to be in it still. That works. But,
I had a 180 and doing 10 months and 24 days from it.
oh, okay.
I mean, I've done it all, and I
Yeah, and
still
unfortunately,
unable to get my license.
there's a matrices of things that would be too long for the show, but that come together to weigh upon whether you can get a limited or an LDP, limited driving privilege. And if you do call the office or any attorney, you can go through and answer, the 2 or 3 types of DWIs you had, what the last probation you did walk through, the type of DWI court you did, what county you did it in, what county your last offense was in. And then once the attorney understands all those things, they could tell you pretty quickly whether you're going to be eligible. If you're on a 5-year denial right now or a 10-year denial, the new law that came in 2010 and the new law that's changing right now through 2017 impacts heavily how somebody can get these LDPs. But if you get a hold of somebody and you can spend 22 minutes on the phone with them, you're going to find out what you're eligible for.
There you go. 314-895-4040 to reach our friends at digiblow.com. 314-895-4040.
All right, so
just one other
Friday, my wife goes to a little happy hour after work.
Uh-oh.
And, so therein lies the first problem, right?
Uh-huh.
So she's drives home, gets pulled over by St. Peter's police, and for suspicion of driving under the influence, and they went ahead, they issued, gave her the test. She flew under the legal limit, but they still arrested her for DUI.
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
All right, which I didn't know that could happen. I'm not familiar with that, with friends of mine that have had DUIs, but then it gets a little weird because, so she did not blow above the limit, and they said they're going to go ahead and arrest her anyway. Now they say that she's resisting arrest because she got a little feisty about if she didn't blow that high, then why did she still have to go?
Oh.
Right.
Well, then they bring up this whole situation. Well, she also has a past warrant on a speeding ticket that she apparently didn't show up to court for like 5 years ago.
Oh.
Right,
So
those are always
it's like
good,
it's the snowball. All this stuff is
Hot
going
damn.
on. So now all of a sudden she's got 3 charges against her, and she's in the St. Peter's Popo. So
Is she in there now?
Oh, right now?
no.
You got her out.
No, she got out.
Thank
Okay.
God.
Yeah, it is not common. The .08 threshold was put in place. The prosecutors want these numbers to wave around in front of juries and judges to help them prove their case, but they don't really, under the statute, driving while in intoxicated condition, they don't have to have the .08. You can be a .04 if you're a CDL driver, for instance, and .06, .079. Those are indicators that you do have something in your system, and then the observations of the officer, given that you were swerving or couldn't walk, and again,
But a lot of people don't know that they can basically take anybody in at any time and say they're...
yeah, and it could be that the prosecutor will quash that eventually, because when they do get in front of a jury and it's a .06, most people are like everybody in this room and you, the caller, that we want to see the .08. If that didn't happen,
Right.
we're not going to find anybody guilty. Everyone knows it's .08, so it's a hard case for them, and it probably won't get that far, or you'll have some good opportunity to plea down something with the prosecutor. I don't know if you can take that to the bank, but typically, short of that .08, they may have just been wanting to get her off the road, or maybe the warrant or that perfect storm of negativity you were describing just kind of jumped up and grabbed her.
Bam. All in. Are St. Peter's usually, is that a easy area to deal with, or are they
St.
tough
Peter's
nuts?
does not keep their own DWIs anymore. They write them straight down to circuit court, which then Tim Lomar, the prosecutor, decides whether or not he wants to take the case from St. Peter's, which 95% of the time they do
Yeah.
that. St. Peter's is a good department for their processes, the way that they do it, but In that case, that may be one that they elect to pass on. I don't know.
Anthony, sorry that the wife went through that, but thank you so much for the phone call, buddy. And give Mike's people a call, all right?
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
895-4040, of
Can the
course.
cops arrest you for driving exhausted?
They might, at their discretion, decide that's a careless and imprudent behavior. If you've got, if they pull you over, and you're like, I can't even stay awake. I just want to get home and see if I can sleep drive.
Well, some tests, haven't they had some tests that show it's worse exhausted driving than being drunk? I've heard that.
Only thing I ever heard was in California for a while. They did a practice of pulling people over and giving allegedly drunk drivers a actual physical dexterity test in front of a computer to see if they could drive through the computer course, and then allowing you to stay on the road potentially, even if they had suspected you of being a drunken driver. But the exhausted people were evidently performing more poorly on those California tests, but I don't know for certain. I just heard about those.
Renee is next up. She is in Wentzville, Missouri, with a question about money.
Oh, good.
Hey, Renee.
Hi, how are you today?
What up? You're on with Mike Carter. Go ahead.
Hello, Mike. I did some business for a client, and they used the work, but then wound up not liking it for whatever reason and not paying us. So I didn't know if there was any method of recourse for collecting that money that is owed to us.
But they used it? Is that what I wanted to make that clear? You said
Yes.
they used it, but then they came back and said they didn't like it.
Yes.
That seems weird.
Yeah, and that would depend. Is it less than $5,000 worth of transaction, or do you know?
Yes, it is.
Right. I mean, down in the small claims court, Judge Thornhill runs that. I mean, they usually, not always, I don't want to get in trouble, have a split the baby approach. If you take someone to court there and you can both have some straight-faced story to share with the judge, you're probably going to get somewhere. It's not always the case that happens, but if you didn't have a written contract that shows what your deliverables or your objectives are, it will be he said, she said, or she said, whatever. And ultimately, someone will have to determine, what was the contract? What was promised? Did you deliver what they thought in their mind they were going to receive? And to the extent that the judge is convinced that they didn't get what you said you would give them, you lose the battle. If you gave them more than what you promised and you can document it and testify to it and it's believable, it may be that you get some of your money. But the best thing is to have a document that's written and the four corners of the document speak for itself, and somebody can look at it and determine pretty easily what was promised and what was given.
But if they used it, isn't that... I mean, can you do that? Can you come back later and say, well, yeah, we used your stuff, but yeah, we didn't like... You can't do that.
Well, it happens in the website world a lot, right? I'll make you a website. Give me $1,500. You prepare it. You make it.
Webmasters, they're evil.
And that is what they give you is something that you kind of need to use because it replaced what you had, but you don't like it. It isn't what you thought you were getting, but you don't have the skill set yourself to correct it back. And the webmaster's saying, hey, I gave you what you wanted. You're like, no, you didn't. It was supposed to have an online credit card and all this, and it's not there. Right. But they have to use it still because they don't know how to correct it any other way. So, you're in a kind of a pickle then.
Sorry about that. Hope it works out for you, Renee. Thank you for the phone call. I thought pretty open shut thing. You use somebody's work.
Well, it's like a lawyer. It's like a lawyer, right? I mean, if you hire a lawyer, isn't that a billable by hours?
It depends. There's flat fee. Really, in Missouri, you're not supposed to have a lot of flat fee, but it does happen. Give me $2,500, I'll make my way through the process in the event that it's fairly smooth in that. But if a trial jumps up, it might be more, that kind of thing. But yeah, anywhere from $180 an hour to set. We've got a client. Not me particularly, but I've got a lawyer doing some work for me on a patent. It's $850 an hour out of the Valley in California. So hourly's in 1/10 increments. 6 minutes is how they bill per billing period. It's very interesting.
I got billed when I had my paternity suit. I would call and leave a voicemail, and I got billed like $75 for him checking his voicemail if a voicemail had left. Isn't that crazy? What?
Yeah, and the argument is attorneys, the only thing they have to sell is time, right?
Yeah.
We can't give you a
the time it took for him to check his
dispenser
voicemail and call me back, I got billed for.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds normal.
Is there a flat rate for DWI?
There can be. I'd say on a first-time DWI, you don't usually see anybody charging more than like $5,000 for your first-time DWI. A lot of times it can get down to 1,000 or 800 if you've, for instance, you got one in June of this year.
Right.
And you're past all the trigger time mechanisms that come into play on a DWI, and you're now just dealing with kind of the leftover parts of it. You can get down into a pretty low price point. But usually if you tackle it the way you're supposed to on the front end within days of receiving one, you're looking at 1,000 or above in attorney fees to deal with your first time.
Man, let me ask you this. When you get into number 2, number 3, maybe number 4,
11.
What makes the price go up so much?
You've got... The theory is that on the first time
stop getting in trouble.
right. Step this way, right?
You damn... Stop driving, idiot! What's wrong with... I know people. It's like that friend of ours. I love him to death, but he's got the thing hooked on his steering wheel.
Yeah.
Right.
To blow.
Yeah.
But yet, he still occasionally... He'll have somebody else blow for him.
Yeah, but now they have
Well,
GPS.
they have pictures.
Now they got pictures. They got
Right.
cameras. You can't do it no more, man.
That's
But the
dangerous.
the theory is...
People don't learn. I think he's doing better with it lately. I've heard
Right.
he's having other people drive if he's going out. But some people don't learn. Isn't that the truth, though? They really don't.
No, I know a few people like that. I do.
Depends on how bad the first pain is and things. But the theory is, back to Chris's question, is on the first time DWI, usually you get this kind of latitude because you got stung from a Christmas party or a bachelorette party, that kind of thing. And so it's set up, you get your one-time free pass kind of,
Sure.
2 years probation,
Right.
we'll let you keep your license.
Yeah.
And then if you get stung again after that, you never learned your lesson. Now the prosecution is saying, look, your guy had his free pass
This
3
is
years
right,
ago. It's
right.
time to start bucking up. You're going to have some at-home jail time, or
Yeah.
you're going to be on something a lot more involved, and you have to fight a little harder to get rid of those.
Right. So that's why you have to pay more, Chris.
Yeah,
So be careful.
I guess so.
All right. I don't have one, but okay.
Okay, which line should we take to?
And you'd be surprised when you ask a jury, how many people in here have had one or have a close friend or relative? It's about, I don't know, 2/3 of them raise their hand, you know?
Hello, it's the Viper. You're on with Mike Carter. Go ahead.
Hi. I actually have a question. I have lived in the same apartment community for about 2 years. I've always paid my rent on time. I consider myself to be a good tenant. However, recently, our community has moved in across the hall from me to college guys who party constantly. They wake up
Sorry about
myself and my children. They've actually broken some of my belongings outside of my door. I have made several police reports. I've actually brought them into management. However, the management at my apartment community is refusing to do anything because they say it's happening after hours.
Right. You've got a, in real estate,
We're closed. Knock yourself out.
part of your lease will have a section typically that'll have right to quiet enjoyment. And even if it's not in there, there's some statutory framework at the state level that says you have a right to quiet enjoyment of your property once you enter into a lease with somebody. So to the extent that they are not providing for that, and you can't sleep and you can't have your kids out without worrying, you can probably, if most likely, break your lease. You don't have really a right to sue them or anything like that, but you get out of your lease, relocate somewhere where you can. It's possible you might be able to get a month's rent back or something, but you'd spend a lot more on attorney fees trying to enforce your right of quiet enjoyment.
Kidding.
Wait a minute.
How can that be true? These people are keeping her up all night, and they're not going to do anything about it?
The landlord, it's not the landlord doing it. It's just the landlord made a bad rental
They
decision.
got to do something about it.
All right. So the first thing you don't want to do is call the cops, right? On a situation like that. Why? So
if you do it without revealing who you are, just act like you're somebody else. I think there's a guy making noise across the street. You don't want to say.
But are the cops going to do? Are they obligated to come at that point?
I mean, most police departments are going to come on any call you make. You know, the guy across the hall is eating cotton candy. Can you come check it out?
Okay, so let's say you have 2 or 3 of those cop calls, and they're documented, right?
Okay.
Then you go down to the clubhouse and you say, I'm done. I break the lease. I don't even break the lease. You broke the lease. I'm leaving because you guys won't enforce this. Is it now you take it? Now they take you to court and they're trying to sue you for back rent. You have a great case.
If their lawyer properly understands what you just described factually, they're not going to go to court to hear that out, I wouldn't think.
Right.
But if usually what happens is many times, not always, and I don't want to accuse the caller of anything, is that The caller, not the caller, the tenant has some other issues. I've been late before. She started by saying she never has been. You've been late. You knocked a hole in the wall. You constantly got a leak, or maintenance is coming out all the time. And now all of a sudden you're discovering these problem people across the hall.
Right.
So now you got a he said, she said. You're in court.
They try to turn it around on you.
Yeah. And so you got to kind of make your way through the facts and circumstances sometimes. But just as she described it, they, with a learned lawyer, are not going to bring any action against her for moving.
I just can't see how the complex doesn't have to do something about it.
They probably should try.
Yeah,
yes.
You can't have that kind of thing.
They have refused to get involved. I have these guys doing beer bongs in the breezeway.
Maybe it's a cool place to live,
Yeah, I'm
actually.
like, party time. Where's this at?
Right.
Well, you didn't say. Did you say you have kids or what?
Yeah,
I
she
do.
did.
Okay,
They
yeah, well,
keep my
that's-
kids up. I'm late for work because I'm having to deal with the police.
Yeah.
You know, at all hours of the night.
I'm for a good party, but not.
You're calling the police, or they're showing up because it's so bad?
I'm calling the police.
Okay.
And they have shown up a few times on their own. I'm assuming
Probably both,
other
yeah.
people have called.
Yeah.
Damn, why don't you just move?
Well, that's what the
She's
law
gonna
would
have
have
to.
you
I'm
do.
stuck in a lease.
You're not stuck in a lease if that's really happening. You
Right,
can tell them I'm going to have to break it and make a move, and they should understand it and probably let you, unless they've got some good argument that the kids have only been there 16 days and you're already saying it's a persistent problem. They got to have time to
Okay.
correct it.
Yeah.
If I was that landlord, I would be fixing the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to live in an apartment complex where Chris owned it, that's for sure.